When you allow the thoughts to start growing, it grows into such a big, huge tree, a huge mountain altogether. At some point of time, because of your experience, because of your knowledge, because of your performance level, you become a vice president of that same company. You become the head of that process. Whenever you fail to do it or the team fails to do it, he passes on the buck to the employee. He says, you are not capable. You believe that the employee is not correct. You still are in the world of your own perception. Good morning and welcome to the third session in Unit 3, Organization Behavior, where we are going to talk about the decision making. Now, this is in continuation to the same perceptual factors. Now we will get into the actual decision making that is very, very important. Why? Because the perceptions that were creating distortions in mind, how to overcome it and how to do an assessment, that's what we are going to see here. So the first thing which I would like to talk about is managers must be aware of their own logical and perceptive fallacies and biases of others. And this is very, very important. Must be aware of their own logical and perceptive fallacies. So as a manager, have you first identified yourself? Many of the times in companies, the most interesting factor is called as performance evaluation. Now, everybody gets serious at that time. Reason is that your manager is going to rate you based on your performance. Now, very simple thing, but then it is not as simple as said. There are so many factors. You don't agree to your manager's performance rating. Your manager doesn't want to agree to your words. Your manager is not accepting what you have done, but you believe that you have done much more than what has been told. So now you would see that there is a distortion in terms of assessment, evaluation versus the actual factor. So you would see that the judgments are somewhere not correct. So tomorrow, when your manager just gives you a 3 on 5, which means to say average. Yes, he's an average employee. He's just performing what is expected. You're not happy. You are not just happy with that performance appraisal because you believe I should have got 5 on 5 and he has just given me 3 on 5, which is nowhere equal at all. So that's why I say managers must be aware of their own logical and perceptive factors. They should know, first of all, what is the logic on which they are working. What is the factors of biases that they have in the mind? Have they overcome it? Have they seen it? Have they come out of that situation? Have they emptied their mind completely? Or is it that they're still in all kind of the fancy thought process about an employee? So every time what happens on a daily basis, when you accumulate thoughts in your mind and when you allow the thoughts to start growing, it grows into such a big, huge tree, a huge mountain altogether, heaped up. All the thoughts are heaped up and it forms like a mountain in your mind and you're unable to come out. You are unable to deal with that situation. You are just unable to come and say, this is the fact. You believe that the employee is not correct. You still are in the world of your own perception. Now, moving further. Now, the perception distortions in management. So that's why we say this requires a great deal of organizational behavior knowledge. A few useful perception distortions should be aware of how to take this decision making altogether. Now, I will say one thing here, the thought of organizational knowledge. Why does experience really becomes a master sometimes? When you join an organization, after a few years, when you get promoted to a manager, you're not all that happy. Why? Because this is just what you expected. After a few years, you start compromising with yourself, feeling happy that this is enough. I don't want to grow further. I don't want to take further risk and responsibility. Your experience slowly starts building up inside you. At some point of time, because of your experience, because of your knowledge, because of your performance level, you become a vice president of that same company. You become the head of that process. At that point of time, you start understanding the organizational factors more rather than just your subject, rather than just your domain area knowledge. Let's say that I'm basically from finance or from marketing knowledge background. I forget that finance, I forget that marketing. I don't want it because I know what it is. I know what to talk to the customer and I know what the customer will talk back to me. I know all these dialogues. But what I have not learned in so many years, which I am now learning, is something called as beautiful as organizational knowledge. What is an organization? What exactly they expect out of this situation? What are they expecting me out of in terms of this particular behavior, in terms of handling a situation, in terms of doing a team management, or in terms of training, or in terms of delivering a project? All those kind of things I learned. So what happens to me is that I understand over a period of time, after say 10, 15, 20 years, that the knowledge of organization, the knowledge of organizational behavior, terms and terminologies and facts are more important rather than just the domain knowledge, because domain knowledge will make you an expert, no doubt about it, but organizational knowledge will make you a leader, because you will come to know what exactly needs to be done in what situation. Followed by the confirmation bias. Simply put across, humans have a strong tendency to manipulate new information and facts until they match their own preconceived notions. Now, this is very, very important and an interesting factor. As long as I get to the truth factor, everything seems to be truth. Everything seems to be correct for me. But the day when I realize that this is the actual truth, that day all my notions, all my perceptions just go away from my mind. It just flies off. That's where I always say, people will try to confirm their own patterns. People will try to confirm their own ideas until they reach the truth. They don't believe it. So that's what 99% of the time I always say, that this inappropriate confirmation allows a poor decision making that ignores implications of new ideas. So until and unless you realize the truth by yourself, you see the picture, you believe in it, you are not going to make a correct decision. Get away from the bias. Don't try to picture a story in your mind. That is not necessary at all. As I go back to the example of the employee and manager, every time when an employee comes to me and tells me about his performance, about his situation, my mind is already preconceived with the thought, this guy will come with an excuse. This guy will tell a story today. This guy will not take up that job. This guy will not attend the conference call. All these things are basically my bias which has got accumulated. So I keep on matching things. And the way if the employee also behaves, then my patterns are matching. But at the end of the day, when I remove all these perceptions, I look at that individual, I calculate, I understand, I make my decisions on the subjective matter. Then I come to know this is the truth. Whatever I thought was wrong. So that's where I say that the inappropriate confirmation, all the wrong calculations, all the wrong facts that you had thought about an employee, please remove it. That will not help you to make a correct, a judgmental decision altogether. Now, the next thing is that the perception distortions in management also says about the next factor called as the self-serving bias. What is the self-serving bias? Another common bias is that the tendency to take credit for success while passing the buck on failure. Something somewhere where we have heard it all the time. That's very, very important. Now let's go back to our organization. Why? Because this really requires an example to understand it furthermore. Whenever the team wins, the manager takes the credit. Whenever you fail to do it or the team fails to do it, he passes on the buck to the employee. He says, you are not capable. You are not doing the job. I know that you are not capable. Your skills are not matching. You better take a transfer or you move out of this project. So credit the success, debit the failure is not an accepted behavior at all. That cannot be accepted. You want to be a leader, accept the failures and grow with the failures to success. That's what defines you a leader. On the other hand, whenever a failure comes, stand in the front, accept it, take it on yourself, and then move yourself to success. The entire team will back you. They will say that he is our leader. He took the responsibility, so he should be credited. So that's what I say. Managers must monitor this in employees, realize it when they are guilty themselves. Being objective about success and failure enables growth and proper accountability. That's very, very important in organization behavior. Be objective about success and failure. Failure and success are just like two chapters. Failures and success are like 2 points, are like two situations altogether. You can come across both the situation alternatively, simultaneously, whatever factors. But that doesn't mean that A is related to B, B is related to A. You cannot relate things. You cannot pass on the buck to others. When you look at success, give the same importance to failure. When you think that you are failing, we are failing because the team is failing. I'm also part of the team. But when you are winning, we are all winning because I'm also part of the team. So that's what has to come into the mind of a manager. Understand that every employee is important in the organization. Every single employee contributes for the success of the organization. You cannot see him aside. You cannot see him aloof from the organization altogether. So that's very, very important. Let's understand, realize it, build it as an objective, and then we go further in terms of success. Now, the next thing is the belief bias. I'm very, very interested about this factor, belief versus fact. Thought versus the important opinion. So I would always say fact versus fiction here. Individuals often make a decision before they have all the facts. In this situation, I'm going to say they believe that their confidence is their decision, and it's found on a rational, logical assessment of facts when it is not. So very important for us. Let's just make an important note here. Individuals often make a decision before they have all the facts. Yes, we are. We will make a fact. We will make a thought process. We will believe whatever we said is right. And how does it come into the picture is that they believe in their confidence. You are making a mistake, but that mistake is also giving you a confidence internally to believe that that mistake is correct. That is the most interesting part of the story. First of all, you have not understood it correctly. You have made a perception, but on the top of it, that perception is now instilling confidence in you. You believe that, yes, it is right. And then automatically it starts going up. Now I'll take up the other way of example. What if I go late to my organization? Who's going to call me? Who's going to ask me? Yes, I have reasons for it. Why don't I make this as a behavior, as a habit itself? Now, every time if I'm going to tell my boss about the traffic jam, about a flat tire, about the raining scenario, my boss has to believe it. My boss cannot just take me and throw me out of the organization. So what do I do is that I have a belief, I have a wrong perception that when I do something and when that gets accepted, I continue doing that same mistake. I'm not going to change it. But then when I realize the factor that being on time is more important because the value that you give to time factor really creates an important image about yourself that really carries on your personality, then I go away from the belief. Then I change myself. Then I start believing that punctuality leads to a stronger personality. That's very, very important that we have to understand. When the belief is broken and the fact comes inside you and you understand that this is the reality, automatically that transforms into fact that gets stored in your mind, and then your personality changes. So that's why I say that please do not imagine, please do not assume, please do not believe that whatever we are doing is right. Check it. Find it out whether we are on the right path. Find it out whether this can be changed, whether this can be brought to the right track. And if there is a possibility to change, if there is a methodology that can be adopted, that can be done in a better manner, please do it. Then only you will start making better decisions. You will move up the ladder of success. The next one, framing. What a beautiful statement altogether, a word here which talks about it's quite easy to be right about everything if you carefully select the context and perspective of the given issue altogether. Framing enables people to ignore relevant facts by narrowing down what is considered to be applicable to a given decision. Now, when you want to shout at someone, let me take a very simple example here. Whenever you are driving a car on the road, it's quite a traffic day, and you see that everybody are moving at a pace. Each one of them are honking at each other. And it so happens that somebody tries to irritate you because you are not moving fast, because you are not able to do it, and you start getting irritated by it, you start shouting at him. Now, what is happening is that you are framing a situation. That guy has not tried to make you anger. That guy is not intentionally trying to push you to your limits. What he is doing is that he wants to go to some place urgently. He is in some mind frame altogether. But you are waiting for an opportunity. This guy will honk one more time. I will get irritated and I will shout at him. One more time, this guy will sound the horn. I'll get out of the car and I will slap him. Why? Because you're framed in your mind that this is the perception. This is what I have narrowed my decision to that level that given a chance, I will charge on him. That's where exactly framing is coming, because what you're doing is you are carefully selecting a set of situations that will come handy to you, and that will lead you to take a decision immediately and just execute it. But this is not right. That's what I want to tell you. Why? Because when you are framing certain things, you need to understand the relevancy of the situation. You need to have the facts in hand. It is not that only that person is honking. The entire row of cars are into honking. Everybody is running. The situation is like that, but we don't have the time and patience to understand everything. We just want to rush through it. We just believe that, okay, this is the time given, this is the decision chance. Just take it, just prove it out that yes, you can do it. But don't take up like that, because if you want to be a leader, understand the relevancy of facts. That is very, very important. Once the relevant facts are there with you, then you will be able to make a better decision, and you will be able to tell the employee how to correct himself in the given situation. Moving forward, casuality. It's a very important thing. Humans are pattern matching organizations and organisms altogether. People analyze past events to predict the future outcomes, and sometimes the analysis is accurate. That's where I'm going to stop for a moment. Why? Because somewhere down the lane, the sixth sense becomes a powerful instinct in all of us. We all believe in sixth sense, and we believe that yes, from the past to future, it is predictable. I know that this will happen. That's a common statement that happens in our life, and yes, it happens. Just by looking at the sky, you get a factor saying that it is going to rain today and it will rain, and automatically you say, wow, I have the prediction power. I know what is future. Now that's exactly why, because you are a pattern matching organism. You match the patterns. You see, match the following is such an important exercise that we have been doing right from our school days, and we continue doing match the following every walk of our life. We believe in that. There's no way we will get away from match the following, because it's very easy. Right from your childhood, you will take a pencil and draw from one end to another end. A, E, B, C. You'll do that matching that pattern. It's always there. That similarly happens to you in every frame of life. But then sometimes you need to understand it is not true. Why? Because we forget to see that cause and effect relationship incompletely, randomize the situation, statistical confidence comes into it, and we start getting into a perception altogether. We don't want to understand the cause and effect. We just believe patterns are like that. We just believe the story has to be this way. That's how the patterns are matching for me. If somebody makes a mistake in the organization, we believe that this person is bound to make it. We wait for it. We don't wait for the chance to understand what could be the reason for making mistake. What is that mental disturbance that is running in his mind? No, we don't want to know that. That is not needed for a manager. What is needed for a manager is, when will this guy make a mistake? Because if that guy makes a mistake, that guy makes a casualty there, my patterns are matching. This is what I expected. I knew that you will do this mistake and you have done it again. So that's exactly what we need to avoid. Please understand, the right way to make a decision is to analyze the situation, is to see the cause and effect relationship, is to see where exactly the employee is making a mistake, and find out the reasons behind it, not to shout at the employee when he has made a mistake. That could be done by anybody in the system. But what you need to do is that find out the reason behind the mistake. That would make the distortion come down, decisions go up, and that's what will make you a better leader altogether. Now with this, I come to the end of this session. I hope and believe that all the information shared through this session will be of a great benefit and resource to you. In the upcoming sessions, we shall learn more about the emotions and perceptions. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me on this wonderful session.